Hey everyone, in this video we're going to go over how to use dynamic placeholders. So dynamic placeholders are basically when you have values that you don't have at the current time, but will be available later at another place in time. So what we can do, we can put a placeholder in certain spots, and what will happen is it will replace that value with the placeholder later when the data becomes available. So to give you an example of how this works, let's head over to our interface builder. And let's put in a few divs right now with some placeholder tag. So now that I've entered the tags up here, I'm going to come down to my test area right here, and I'm going to boot this up, and it should actually print out two lines on screen. Yep, here we go. Here we have a event ID or stream ID, and here we have a user ID. So how does this actually work in a real world example? Let's say we want to print the title of the event on screen somewhere. It's not really available to us unless we call, the API and get the data back. So let's start by creating a div. It's going to have an area for placing the title, but also a button for calling the title later. All right, so we have right now this little HTML that's going to, the ID is going to be replaced with the stream ID, and then this button is going to populate or call the populate title function. So let's go down here and actually write this in JavaScript next. Some of you might be wondering, where did this BW API come from? Where did BW properties come from? This is discussed in later chapters, but these are two elements as part of the JS SDK that involves calling Benchwave's API and also properties that are passed in to every widget that you will develop. So one thing you might be wondering too is this route being called here. This slash events and then it uses the properties event ID. Well, if you come over to our documentation and we go down to the live events section and we go to view event, what we're doing is we're calling this route right here, the events API. We're getting event by the ID, and then this is going to return all this data. So we should expect to see the title as one of the data attributes that is returned. So let's take a little moment and update our code and run this. And when we run this time, we're going to actually use our inspect element console here so we can see what is going on. So I'm going to click populate data. I'm going to go to my console. Populate title is not defined, so you have a little error here. So I come back here. What I forgot to do is actually a very good call. I forgot to put this inside a namespace. Remember, everything in Benchwave is namespaced in here. So let's add this to this namespace that we have defined here. And now let's update our function. And then when we call our button again, it's going to return a status success, and then it's going to return all the data about the event, and you'll see that it actually has the title in here, right here. So now let's get this title to appear on screen. So remember, what we did is we set the h3 to the ID of the stream. So what we could do is let document dot element by ID Now what this is going to do, it's going to get the element by the ID, which is really the ID of the event in which you specified here. And these two should be the same. Now we're going to put some data into the element And we're going to update the title. So to element dot inner HTML equals response dot data dot title. And now if we do update our widget and we now run the code once more, boom, we now have the title being populated in here. And that is an example of how to use the placeholders to modify HTML at certain points and then inject data in there as you need it. Thank you.